Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It is 6 minutes past the hour at 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson, and I am so glad to be with you on this 17th day of July. Got a little rain, a few showers out there today. I got to tell you, we had a drop or two of rain here in Wilson County, and by the time I got out there 15 minutes later, it all evaporated. It was gone.
Yeah, not much, was it?
It wasn't much. It wasn't much. We really could use some rain. We are going to get into, in a big way, right off the bat here, the investigation into the assassination attempt on Saturday. I want you to know that there is a lot of information out there. I mean, it's almost information overload. So many people are working this story. And I want you also to know that there's a lot of what I think is bad information out there. And I'm going to try to separate the wheat from the chaff here and go through in a very detailed way. I mean, I've been spending the last 4 or 5 hours going over stories and trying to pick out the most important part of every story and what it brings to the entire tale. And then I'm going to aggregate all that information for you and try to give you a better sense of what happened on that day. Now, clearly a failure. And clearly, when you have the person in charge of the Secret Service, the director of Secret Service, Kimberly Cheadle, saying stuff like this.
That building in particular has a sloped roof at its highest point. And so, there's a safety factor that would be considered there, that we wouldn't want to put somebody up on a sloped roof. And so, the decision was made to secure the building from inside.
It doesn't inspire confidence because and I know that there were other sniper teams, that were good guy sniper teams, that were on roofs that were more slanted than that one. So, I mean, honestly, I don't have any confidence in the Secret Service investigating itself. I must say, as much as I have a lot of respect for FBI agents on the front lines that I've known, I don't have a lot of real confidence in the FBI. And as much as I hate to say it, some of the best information is coming from people who were there on the scene. So it doesn't take a genius to go through and sort of call out what seems to be good, solid, and verifiable information and separate the wheat from the chaff. So here we go. It's very clear that this shooter, Thomas Matthew Crooks, was caught the attention of law enforcement maybe as many as 3 hours before the shooting. Not on the roof, but he was wandering around. They took pictures of him on several occasions and said, this guy doesn't seem right. He seemed to be nervous. They caught him near the magnetometers where people were entering, pacing left and right. And he first caught the attention of the people who were in line. And then they pointed out to police, and police took his picture at some point. Here's some of what I've been able to find from the New York Post, who's been doing a good job here. One of the final photos of would-be assassin Thomas Matthew Crooks shows the 20-year-old gunman crawling on the ground and seemingly scoping out a spot from which to shoot at former President Donald Trump nearly 1 hour before the attack. The image was taken around 5:30 p.m. Saturday by local police counter-sniper officer who reported that Crooks was a suspicious person on the grounds outside Trump's rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, according to local NBC affiliate WXPI. There's a reporter there at that station who's doing exceptional work and getting us information from the locals that you can't get anywhere else. Sometimes you've got a gem of a reporter there really doing some great work. Law enforcement sources told the station that the sniper, a member of the Beaver County Emergency Services Unit, searched the ground for Crooks after sending the picture, but he had moved from the location where the picture was taken. They basically lost him. Around 5:45, 26 minutes before the shooting, the same Beaver County cop spotted Crooks a second time. So this guy was onto them and wanted to find him again. Never gave up. Spotted Crooks a second time, now on the roof, took a second picture and called it to the command center. So that is 26 minutes before the shooting. They see him on the roof. At 6:11 p.m., Crooks fired the first shot from about 130 yards away, and as you know, it grazed his ear and killed a rally attendee. When Trump took the stage Crooks was still on the ground and had not yet climbed onto the roof of the building, according to the local TV report. He was spotted on the roof about 7 minutes before the shooting, again, according to the local people. Now, a lot of information is coming to us from the locals, as I said. A local Butler Township police officer ran to the scene, and this is what we keep saying, somebody poked their head over the top of the roof. I think you need to understand the way that happened. Butler Township, they only had 4 or 5 officers on the scene. They were there to do nothing more than handle traffic. But they rushed to the scene. 2 officers, one of them boosted one officer. He sort of gave him a lift up, like you would trying to climb a fence. Hey, give me a boost. They boosted him up where he could get to the corner of that roof, and he looked and he saw the guy, and the guy, turned at him, and he had the rifle and pointed it at the officer. The officer had to let go to avoid being shot and fell some 8 feet to the ground. So he did his very best. And, I think what you have to understand there is that now the shooter knows he's been spotted. He's been spotted by a police officer. So now his adrenaline is pumping. And a few moments later, he takes the first shot at Donald Trump. But you got to understand he's nervous and he's rushed because now he's been spotted by police. That intervention may have thrown him off his game just enough to have saved Donald Trump's life. They found a 12-button remote transmitter and a newer model phone at the scene on the roof. The transmitter believed to have been connected to an explosive device found inside of Crook's car. They think that maybe he planned to use that as a distraction during the shooting, or perhaps to cover his escape. Crooks was spotted by law enforcement using a rangefinder and looking in his phone nearly an hour before Trump took the stage, though he first raised suspicion around 3 p.m. that day when he passed through the security screening area with the rangefinder. So the cops had sort of picked up on the guy, the local cops, and the people at the magnetometer sort of, had spotted up on this guy, and he kept coming in and out of their attention. I think he may have gone back a couple of times to his car. First, he shows up with a rangefinder, then he comes back with a bag, and then he climbs. Now, how did he get on the roof? A lot of bad information about this. It is true that he went to a Home Depot and bought a ladder. He didn't need the ladder. He got up on the roof pretty easily, and if you've looked at any of the pictures of this, you see this. The Pennsylvania man, according to Fox News, who tried to assassinate former President Trump on Saturday, accessed his roof firing perch by climbing up on an air conditioning unit. There was a shorter roof that he jumped up on, and then they gave him access to the larger roof. He did not use the ladder. Now, there have been pictures of a ladder, but one assumes that ladder was brought in by police afterwards as they needed to get access to the roof. Thomas Crooks repeatedly discharged an AR rifle believed to belong to his father. Officials said the troubled loner purchased the ladder at a Home Depot but did not use it to scale the building. Talk about the ladder is incorrect. He did not use the ladder to get on the roof. It's very clear. You could get on that roof easily. Anyone could. If you just climbed up on that air conditioning unit, it was a short hop to a low roof, which then led to the higher roof. Crooks had a tactical vest in his car, but did not put it on prior to climbing on the roof. There, believe it or not, a tremendously, really detailed story from the Washington Post. Now, what they have done is they have taken 40 videos and photos, and you looked at satellite imagery and done some terrain analysis to build a computerized 3D model of the entire scene, which examines the rally site, the shooter's position, and they found that the 2 Secret Service counter-sniper teams may have been initially hindered in their ability to see the shooter as he crawled up on the roof due to its slanted sides. Trees near the rally likely played a part in obscuring the shooter from at least one team assigned to detect and neutralize the would-be snipers. Now, it would have been easier for the second team to see them, even though they were further away. And I have looked at this 3D model and the images that they put together, and it seems like it's a pretty accurate representation of what went on there. And indeed, one sniper team seems to have been initially blocked, and seeing him climb up on the roof by a tree. tree did block some of that view. But there's a lot more into this. The post's assessment were reviewed and corroborated by 3 former law enforcement officials, including 2 retired snipers and a former Secret Service agent, as well as a Marine sniper. So it's not just going on the word of reporters. They have looked at this, developed this model, and had it looked at by real experts. According to the analysis, which placed a camera, by these computer things, you can take a view from any vantage point within the 3D computer model. And they can actually put a camera view where the team was and look across. They say that Crooks would likely not have been visible as he crawled on the roof to take his final shooting position. They show that the northernmost Secret Service counter-sniper team closest to the suspect, slightly more than 400 feet away atop approximately a 23-foot-tall barn with a slope roof, may have further struggled to see him because of 2 trees located between them. The second counter-sniper team was about 550 feet away from the shooter, while further away could have had a less obstructed view, according to the Post reconstruction. They have done an analysis of the shots that were fired, and it does appear that about 8 shots got off. The assassination attempt involved 8 shots from the shooter. 2 audio experts, Rob Mayer of Montana State University and Stephen Beck of Beck Audio Forensics, counted a total of 10 gunshots after analyzing verified footage of the assassination attempt and law enforcement response that followed. The first 8 had similar audio characteristics and were fired in 6 seconds. In 6 seconds, the shooter got off 8 shots. They were immediately followed by a shot from a different location, they said, and 16 seconds after the shooting began, there was one last final shot. Again, those 2 last gunshots had different acoustic signatures from the previous ones, suggesting those were the 2 shots that took out the assailant. All right, so there a lot of information from the Washington Post and their look at this. From Butler Township, Pennsylvania. The city manager, the township manager, is livid, saying that, if you blame the local township folks, the local police officers who were there from the township, you are way out of line. You could not be more wrong. Despite the dozens of local, state, and federal law enforcement officers on the scene, the township manager, a guy by the name of Tom Knight, said it was 4 Butler Township officers assigned to traffic duty who bolted from their post and raced to confront the gunman, with one clinging to the roof where the would-be assassin was perched. Our officers acted instinctively, did their job following the training that they had. The gunman, Thomas Crooks, 20, opened fire minutes into Trump's speech. And as you know, so 2 of the officers, this is what he says, went to what appeared to be the lowest point from the ground to the roof. One of the officers actually boosted the second officer high up enough for him to grab a hold of the roof. When he was able to pull his head up over the roof, he did in fact see the individual on the roof with a weapon. The gunman pointed his rifle at the officer who was hanging on the edge of the roof. The officer ducked his head, lost his grip, and fell about 8 feet to the ground. The 2 officers, the one who fell and the one who boosted him up, both got their radios to report there was a person on the roof with a weapon, but it was just a short time later that the firing from that position began. CBS News. Sniper took picture of Trump rally shooter, saw him use rangefinder before assassination attempt, source says. A lot of detail about the earlier sightings of this individual. And I think the heroic response by the local police officers who were the first, apparently, to get to the scene. And I think you also have to look at this. Well, I have more. I got so much on this. I want to talk to you about this more. Let me just take a break now. I'll come back in just a short bit. There are other issues that are being raised as a result of the investigation. Back after this, it's 20 minutes past the hour.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Could there be big changes coming to the Supreme Court? And could a Hendersonville mother be facing the death penalty? We'll have those stories at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
We're continuing to look into some of the stories that have been out there that have really caught our attention and try to cull from each one of them some of the more pertinent information to try to get a better picture of what happened on Saturday. Here's a story from Reuters, which I think is pretty interesting. The gunman who tried to assassinate Donald Trump fired from a rooftop that the Secret Service had declared to be outside the security perimeter. a fatal, or I should say near fatal omission that the agency should not have made, according to two of its former officials. Two local Pennsylvania police officers who went to check out a dispatch call of a suspicious person there were alone when one of them, hoisted up by a partner to check the roof, was confronted by the gunman. We told you all that. That exposed a major hole in the security. It turns out, when you start asking people who was responsible for that building, Butler County Sheriff deputies were not responsible, according to the Butler County Sheriff. The Pennsylvania State Police, which helped staff the events, like what said, it was not responsible for securing the building, owned by a packaging equipment company known as AGR International. And we just told you a few moments ago that I think 4 or 5 officers from the Butler Township that were there to direct traffic. It wasn't their responsibility. However, they turned out to be some of the first on the scene. Again, apparently nobody was in charge of that building. An unbelievable oversight. I remember, I want to back up just a minute and remind you of an interview that we ran here. It was police here in Nashville interviewing the parents of Audrey Hale following about 4 months after the shooting. And it was pointed out by the investigators that when they arrived at the home that day, the father asked police a pretty interesting and chilling question.
What made you make that statement to the officers when they first stopped? Do you remember?
What was that?
Was it my daughter, the KIA and Covenant? Do you remember that statement?
I did ask that, yes.
What?
I didn't believe.
I guess what made you know? Or how did you know?
The law enforcement response.
Well, I mean, it was clear that it was on the mind of the father. They had already heard the news about what happened at Covenant. And it at least occurred to the father to ask the police officers when they arrived at the home, was it my daughter? It's as if they had an inkling. And the same thing may have happened in the Butler Township or where at the home of Thomas Matthew Crooks. His parents contacted law enforcement Saturday, hours before he opened fire on former President Trump at a Pennsylvania campaign rally. The aspiring assassin's mother and father, according to Fox News, told police that Crooks was missing and they were concerned about his welfare, the source said. Again, it's as if the parents had some inkling that what had happened or what was about to happen and it might involve their son. It's very strange. Why would they call police looking to find a 20-year-old son? What possessed them to reach out to police saying, we're concerned about his welfare? Did they find a note? Was there something that gave them a tip-off? I don't know. But one way or the other, they had reached out to law enforcement beforehand. I will also hit this story because it seems to me that this is probably, we're going to find out as the hearings begin, that this is part of the problem. Republican Congressman from Tennessee, Tim Burchett, criticized the head of the Secret Service in the aftermath of the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. He labeled Kimberly Cheadle a diversity hire amid heavy criticism of the agency's handling of security, about how they handled the whole thing. Speaking to Fox News, Representative Burchett blamed DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Initiatives, for the failings at the Trump rally. Somebody really dropped the ball. You got a DEI person, a DEI initiative person who heads up our Secret Service. You know she was working at Pepsi before this. I know she was a former CIA Secret Service agent. But still, this is what happens when you don't put the best players in. Many on social media were in disagreement with Burchett's remarks about the dangers of DEI hiring. But I do believe that, you know, what you want in your Secret Service team is the very best. Be that man, woman, gay, straight, I don't care. You want the very best. You don't want to put people in there in the name of diversity if they can't do the job. And there have been real concerns that the standards for Secret Service agents in the protective duty had been lessened, been reduced in order to allow more women to be part of the protective detail. And as you know, when you see how they reacted after the shooting, there was at least one woman there who seemed to really not know what was going on at all and didn't seem to have her act together. And both of the women, and I don't have anything against women being in the Secret Service, but both of the women were not near tall enough to protect a man who was about 6'3" tall. So I think Congressman Burchett may be onto something, and I think as we get deeper in and deeper into it, this is going to be one of the elements of this ongoing story. So much to talk about. We'll have more on this throughout the show. Right now, 31 past the hour.
It's 3:30. I'm John Michael with your top stories. Cloudy and 85 degrees. The full weather forecast and traffic report are coming up. President Biden is weighing some sweeping changes to the Supreme Court. One proposal would be to enact term limits and stricter ethics codes for the justices who sit on the court. The president also reportedly is weighing whether a constitutional amendment should be proposed that would limit broad immunity for presidents and other office holders. More from White House correspondent Selena Wang.
The president has been seriously pressed on these issues by progressives, and this would seriously resonate with the liberal part of his party. It comes after growing outrage within his party about the Supreme Court overturning landmark decisions, including the overturning of Roe versus Wade and ethics scandals involving some of these Supreme Court justices. Now, of course, though, these plans would need approval from Congress, and a constitutional amendment would need to pass even more hurdles.
The next president could possibly place 2 new justices on the Supreme Court because of impending retirements. According to a Tuesday hearing for a Hendersonville mother charged with drowning her 70-year-old daughter, the death penalty is an option for the state. Brandy Elliott, 33, was charged with first-degree murder following the incident. No bond was set at the hearing because it could be a capital case. However, the district attorney said that they were not sure if they would seek the death penalty in this case. When told that the state could pursue capital punishment, Elliott simply said, "Yes, sir, her bond could be reviewed following a preliminary hearing." That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm John Michael, WTN News.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
You know, you should let the team at Restoration Wellness help you achieve your summer goals. Restoration Wellness is a leader in weight loss management in Wilson County. Here's the number. Just give them a call and set up your appointment, 615-470-8124, or you can visit their website to find out more about the things that they offer at restorationwellnessmedspa.com. Now, my friends over there, Carly and Jamie, will take great care of you just like they're one of your own. I've been in there. They're delightful people. And by the way, they really do treat you like you're part of the family. You can be part of the 1,000 patients who have already seen life-changing results from the weight loss management program, and I am one of them. Weight loss can increase your energy levels, improve your quality of sleep, enhance your overall health. These are customized treatment plans, not one size fits all. Restoration Wellness considers your unique needs, your lifestyle, your goals. So whether your goal is to lose stubborn body fat or improve your overall health, Restoration Wellness has a solution for you. Why don't you learn about the newest technology and the newest ideas in weight loss management? Just go to their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It is 38 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock. Brian Wilson in the chair on this, again, steamy day, July 17th. I got 92 degrees. We got a little respite. I mean, a few showers have sprinkled through the area, but I don't know. It seemed like they came and went pretty quickly. What we need is a pretty good thunder shower, and that would be helpful right now because it is so dry out there. We, of course, are following what's happening at the RNC, and I have a lot of information to share with you here. Let's go back to last night at the Republican National Convention. We had Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, Marco Rubio, so many people who came and gave good speeches. Let's start with Nikki Haley, who made it very clear that although she's had some differences with Donald Trump in the past, she was 100% going to endorse Donald Trump.
I'll start by making one thing perfectly clear. Donald Trump has my strong endorsement, period.
And the crowd seemed to like that. Throughout the night, again, a lot of people who had at times have had differences with Donald Trump. One of them was Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida. A pretty powerful speech. I thought this was the better part of what he had to say.
The current president of the United States lacks the capability to discharge the duties of his office. Our enemies do not confine their designs to between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. We need a commander-in-chief who can lead 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. America cannot afford 4 more years of a weekend at Bernie's presidency. But let's be honest. Let's be honest here. Biden is just a figurehead. He's a tool for imposing a leftist agenda on the American people. They support open borders, allowing millions and millions of illegal aliens to pour into our country and to burden our communities. But just don't send any to Martha's Vineyard, then they get really upset.
DeSantis seemed to be very proud of that last line. He just stopped and smiled and thought that he was very proud of that last little bit. Marco Rubio was someone who was thought of as a potential running mate for Donald Trump. I think Marco Rubio is one of the smartest people in Washington. I really do. I have a great deal of respect for him. Here's a little bit of what he had to say at last night's convention.
Putting Americans first must be what this election is about. When President Trump was in the White House, Americans had more money and lower prices. Our borders were secure and our laws were enforced. Iran was broke, the Taliban stopped killing Americans, and Putin didn't invade anyone. Now under Biden, high prices devour paychecks. Criminals and drugs are allowed to flood into our country and terrorize our people. And Iran has money to support terrorists. The Taliban humiliated us in Afghanistan, and not one, but 2 major wars have broken out. My fellow Americans, the only way to make America wealthy and safe and strong again is to make Donald J. Trump our president again.
Now, there were I could spend an hour just playing clips from it all, but you get the general sense. It's going extremely well. This convention, the thing I keep comes to my attention is that right now, everything, honestly, with the exception of what happened on Saturday, and in some ways that may actually help this candidacy, as much as I hate to say it, it may well propel him into even higher numbers. But everything seems to be wind at Donald Trump's back right now. And you look at Republicans, and out of this convention, you have people like Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis coming into the fold. You have nothing but unity. And the events of Saturday, I think, just brought everybody together in a huge way to be more unified. And yet when you look across at the other side, you see nothing but absolute disarray. Now, I'm going to get into that in a greater way at the top of the 4 o'clock hour. But, it is absolute disarray on the other side. They can't decide what they're doing. They can't even decide if they're going to go forward with Biden or not. And if they don't go forward with Biden, they're not sure who they might choose. They're in complete meltdown on the other side, while everything on the Republican side of the equation seems to be churning along like a finely well-oiled machine. The Trump train is running at full speed. And this convention is going off without any major hitches. So far, so good. Tonight, we will hear from J.D. Vance, the president's running mate, the junior senator from the state of Ohio. And he met with supporters there in Milwaukee. Could have been Nashville. But he met with them in Milwaukee and did a preview of the things he's likely to discuss tonight in his big address.
I'm very excited about this evening, and I don't plan to screw it up, but if I do, it's too late. He made the pick, right? It's official now. We're going to get out there and try to fire up the crowd tonight and make the case, a very easy case to make, but an important case to make, that we have got to reelect President Donald J. Trump to the White House, right? You know, I keep on thinking to myself, what's the best way, and this is part of what I've been going through as I think about what I'm going to say tonight, what is the best way to articulate why it is that reelecting President Trump is so important? And there are all these different sort of spins that you could take on it. You know, one is you could say, with apologies to our friends back there, the media has lied more aggressively and slanderously about a guy, and he keeps on coming through it. He keeps on persevering. He keeps on fighting. President Trump has taken everything that they've thrown at him, and he's come out stronger, and the country has come out better for his service. We should be grateful to him, and I know that all of us in this room absolutely are. But, you know, it's the way that we saw that, the contrast between the lie that the media tells about President Trump and the man that all of us actually know. Of course, we saw it in really, really stark definition on Saturday, because I'm sure that all of you had a similar reaction to me. You see the video, your friends start telling you that, oh my God, they just shot the president. And then when I first saw the clip, I was worried. You know, you saw him go down, and I didn't know what was going on afterwards. I was so terrified that we had just lost a great president, but it would have been an unbelievably terrible thing for our country in that moment in time. I was just so afraid for him and so afraid for our country. And then, of course, he stands up a minute later after they shot him. They literally shot him. And he raises his fist in the air and he says, "Fight, fight, fight." He fires up the crowd. But this is where the media was really dishonest, and I think they really miss what the man is made of, because after he literally got shot, came within millimeters of losing his life in the service of this country, what did he do? I remember what I did. I was pissed. As soon as I knew he was okay, I felt relief, and then I was like, I cannot believe an assassin tried to take down the President of the United States. I was mad about it. Was he mad and angry? He called for national unity. He called for calm. He showed leadership, my friends, that the media keeps on saying they want somebody to tone down the temperature. Well, Donald Trump got shot and he toned down the temperature. That's what a real leader does.
I think we're going to get a real Rip Snorton speech tonight from J.D. Vance. You know, as I like what I see in this guy, 39 years old, a man who has accomplished much, who comes from the most difficult Appalachian background you could imagine. Mother was strongly addicted to drugs, and raised by very poor grandparents largely. Made his way through his undergraduate education in 2 years, then went to Yale Law School and got a degree there, and again had no money. I mean, he was eating fried bologna sandwiches. That's what's in the book. He ate a lot of fried bologna sandwiches to get through Yale. And was still dealing with family difficulties long distance, even while he was trying to get his degree and get internships, which, if you know about how that all works, very important as you go through the major Ivy League law schools to get good internships. And he was distracted by family trauma even then. Still, he overcame it all. And now he went on to have a great career in business, and now a fabulous career in politics. I love this guy's story. It really is one of these stories of a young man from a disadvantaged upbringing who really literally pulled himself up by his own bootstraps. It's a great story. And I watched the movie Hillbilly Elegy, and I have a feeling that more people are going to watch that movie now that J.D. Vance is the running mate than perhaps ever watched it when it first came out a few years back. Directed by Ron Howard. It's based on a book that he wrote, which was a New York Times bestseller. I like this guy. I like this guy a lot. Donald Trump, of course, in the arena, watching all of the things going on with that taped up ear, and I guess he's scheduled to speak tomorrow night. And it's going to be very interesting. He says he has torn up his 20-page speech after the assassination attempt on his life. I can't imagine that did not change him. I saw a computer graphic today of what would have happened, a computer analysis of what would have happened if he had not turned his head at just the right moment. And it is absolutely, without a doubt, a miracle that we don't have an assassination on our hands. Divine providence, divine intervention, in my mind. But I can't imagine you go through that and not have your entire outlook on life somewhat changed. So it'll be interesting to see what he has to say as we get there. A little bit later in the show, in just a bit, we'll talk to Pete Hegseth, who is in Milwaukee, about how it feels there. And I have seen him talking earlier today on Fox News. He has a lot to say about the sniper attack on our former president. That's coming up at 4:35. Right now, it is time for the news. Well, it's time to take a break at 51 minutes past the hour. Let me tell you about the Wellness Institute of Nashville. They're good people over there, and they want you to know that as much as we'd like it to be the case, there are no pills or spinal creams that can magically open up your spinal disc and take the pressure off your nerves. What you have really are a couple of choices. One, you can undergo the knife. You can undergo surgery. Or you can try a less invasive procedure, non-invasive spinal decompression. Now, I've had trouble with both my neck and my lower back. I chose non-surgical spinal decompression at the Wellness Institute of Nashville, and I got to tell you, it has really worked for me. They're state-of-the-art facilities, and they have the latest in high-tech equipment to offer the latest non-surgical procedures. And getting better is important, so Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley are offering half off spinal decompression treatments, half off, and half off the KT knee machine, which is sort of like spinal decompression for the knee. If you're a new patient, you get your exam, your consultation, your first treatment. It's only $23. $23. What have you got to lose here except for the pain? I'm Brian Wilson. I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. So call them today at 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
The International Space Station may be coming down to Earth. Trump's VP choice takes center stage. And could it be capital punishment for a Hendersonville woman? Those stories coming up at 4 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 58 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson, and let's take a look at the market, if I could. The numbers today, quite frankly, I haven't had a chance to look at them until right now. Here we go. The Dow Jones Industrials was up like 700 points yesterday, goes up another 243 points. The S&P is down 78. The NASDAQ is down 512. What's driving the market? Let's check in with John Maxon over at Beacon Capital Management. Good afternoon, John.
Brian, it looks like we just happened to lose John right at the last second.
I apologize for that. Well, okay. Well, again, a good day on the Dow. The S&P and the NASDAQ are in the red. We'll try to catch up with John Maxon tomorrow. It is now 59 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
It's 4:01. I'm John Michael with your top stories. Partly sunny and 89 degrees on Music Row. A full forecast and the latest traffic report are upcoming. 2 days after choosing J.D. Vance as his running mate, former President Donald Trump has put the junior senator from Ohio on the campaign trail. Jim Ryan is at the Republican National Convention.
J.D. Vance will get his formal introduction to the RNC this evening, but attendees at a GOP fundraiser here in Milwaukee got a sneak peek.
We're going to get out there and try to fire up the crowd tonight and make the case, a very easy case to make, but an important case to make, that we have got to reelect President Donald J. Trump to the White House.
Among the other speakers, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, who was also in line to be Donald Trump's running mate.
California Congressman and Senate candidate Adam Schiff becomes the latest Democrat to call on President Joe Biden to end his re-election campaign. 21 Democrats in Congress have now called on Biden to step aside as Republicans rally around former President Trump following Saturday's assassination attempt. Here once again is Jim Ryan.
Where word is circulating about Adam Schiff's call on President Biden to drop out of the race. Dixon Wolf is a delegate from Green Bay, Wisconsin, and hopes Biden ignores the advice.
I'd love for Trump to run against him. I think he's a weak candidate, and I hope he stays the nominee.
Others in the party are warning Trump to prepare for a younger candidate should Biden pull out.
According to a Tuesday hearing for a Hendersonville mother charged with drowning her 7-year-old daughter, the death penalty is an option for the state. Brandy Elliott, 33, was charged with first-degree murder following the incident. No bond was set at the hearing because it could be a capital case. The district attorney said they were not sure if they would seek the death penalty in this case, however. When told the state could pursue the death penalty, Elliott simply said, yes, sir. Her bond could be reviewed following a preliminary hearing. Plans are being made to bring the International Space Station back to Earth. ABC's Derek Dennis reports.
For the past few weeks, NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams have been in a holding pattern on the International Space Station after Boeing's new Starliner spacecraft developed thruster problems and several helium leaks. The Starliner is supposed to return the astronauts to Earth. Now they'll stay a few more weeks, while the plan long-term is for the ISS to be phased out, with NASA allowing it to sink lower and lower over the next few years and then re-enter the Earth's atmosphere minus any astronauts over the Indian or Pacific Ocean. NASA says most of the ISS will burn up upon re-entry.
The first piece of the International Space Station was launched in 1998. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm John Michael, WTN News.
It is 7 minutes now past the hour of our clock. It's the hour number 2 of The Drive. This is Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, coming to you live from Wilson County, where we're trying to do our very best to stay cool, but not doing a good job of it. I'm telling you, I got left with watering duties today. I had to go out and water all the plants today. And I got to tell you, by the time I got through watering all the plants, it wasn't the plants that were wilted. It was me. I'm telling you, it is just brutal out there.
Not to mention the plants all needed to be watered over again by the time you got finished, right?
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, we had a little shower come through here, and it was, I heard the rain pattering against the window, and I went down about 15 minutes later, and there was no evidence there had been any rain. Yep. I mean, the sidewalks were just bone dry. The streets were dry. Nothing looked like it had been rained up on. So, it's just that it's so hot out there. So hot. So take it easy out there, if you would. I want to talk a little bit about, the continuing drumbeat that's out there. That's not the right soundbite at all. Well, anyway, the drumbeat. I hate it when a plan goes wrong. But, that is still a great soundbite of Joe Biden.
Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
All right. But there is a drum beat, and it hasn't lessened. I mean, it did sort of slow down a bit after the events of Saturday and through Sunday and Monday and Tuesday. Maybe Democrats took a pause to try to, but now it seems very clear to me that the push is on. In a big way to, again, in some quarters of the Democrat Party, to replace Joe Biden as the nominee. Let me just share with you some of what has happened. From Newsmax, but it's really about an AP poll. Nearly 2/3 of Democrats now say President Joe Biden should withdraw from the presidential race and let his party nominate a different candidate, according to this poll, sharply undercutting his post-debate claim that average Democrats are still with him even if some big names are turning on him. No, it is now about 65%. 65% of those Democrats have said that they want him to withdraw and let his party nominate a different candidate. That drumbeat continues. The survey from AP Nork Center for Public Affairs Research, conducted as Biden works to salvage his candidacy 2 weeks after the debate flop, also found only 3 in 10 Democrats say they are confident that he has the mental capacity and capability to serve effectively as president. That's down about 5 points from a poll in February. The findings underscore the challenges the 81-year-old president faces as he tries to silence calls from within his own party to leave the race and tries to convince Democrats that he's the best candidate to defeat Donald Trump. The poll was conducted mostly before Saturday's assassination attempt on Trump at a campaign rally in Pennsylvania. It's unclear whether the shooting influenced people's views of Biden, but the small number of poll interviews completed after the shooting provided no early indications that his prospects had improved because of those developments. Meanwhile, as Vice President Kamala Harris receives additional scrutiny amid the talk about whether Biden should bow out, the poll found that her favorability rating is similar to his. But the share of Americans who have an unfavorable opinion of her is slightly lower. The poll provides some evidence that black Democrats are among Biden's strongest supporters, with roughly half in the survey saying that he should continue to run, compared with 3 in 10 white and Hispanic Democrats. Overall, 7 in 10 Americans say Biden should drop out. That's overall, 7 in 10, 70%. That's Democrats and Republicans. So really, when you look at the numbers, 65% of the Democrats and 70% of all Americans say they think Joe Biden needs to step down from the running again and let it be handled by someone else. All right, so there is that. The drumbeat continues. Here is, this is really interesting. Representative Adam Schiff, Democrat of California, who is heavily favored to win California's Senate race in November, has called on President Biden today to drop out of the race, becoming one of the highest profile members of his party to urge Biden to abandon his bid. In a statement, Schiff called Biden one of the most consequential presidents in our nation's history, but questioned his ability to defeat former President Donald Trump and said that a second Trump presidency, he believes, would undermine the very foundation of our democracy. The 22nd person. And here's the thing that's really significant about that. When you hear Adam Schiff speak, he is often absolutely locked in lockstep with Nancy Pelosi. I can't imagine that Adam Schiff would have come out and made this statement without having the blessing, or at least giving the nod from Nancy Pelosi. So it seems like to me these are the real high movers and shakers within the Democrats on the House side. Adam Schiff, as much as I dislike him as an individual, and I think he's a liar, it does seem to have clout within the party and is poised to become the next Democrat senator from the state of California. But he is in lockstep. When you hear Adam Schiff say something, you can be sure that Nancy Pelosi had some say in it, or at least gave him the nod. So there's that. While the choice to withdraw from the campaign is President Biden's alone, I believe it's time for him to pass the torch, added the California Democrat. Make no mistake, whoever our party ends up nominating, or if the nomination remains with the president, I will do everything I can to help them succeed. There's only one singular goal, and they are mortified at the numbers and concerned about defeating Donald Trump. The stakes, they say, are just too high. From CNN, pretty good story. I didn't get a chance to go into this to great detail yesterday, but it really does talk about what's going on behind the scenes. The public calls from Democrats asking President Joe Biden to bow out of the presidential race had quieted in recent days before Schiff, but private efforts to nudge the president and his top aides continue. Among the efforts, these sources say, are repeated memos from a seasoned and respected Democrat pollster by the name of Stanley Greenberg. Now, this is a man whose voice does carry weight in Democrat circles, Stanley Greenberg, sharing his take that Biden is on track to lose the election in a way that does deep damage to other Democrat candidates. You want to get their attention? Okay, well, maybe he's going to lose, but as long as I don't lose, it's okay. But no, if the person at the top of the ticket drags down other Democrats, you can be sure they won't be supporting him very much longer. And that's probably what's behind Schiff's move. Lose everything is how one Democrat described a polling memo Greenberg sent to Biden's inner circle in recent days. Devastating was one word answer of a second Democrat close to the White House who is familiar with those memos. These sources said Greenberg had sent several memos over the past 2 weeks since the president's devastating debate performance, analyzing internal polling that he asserts shows the president positions continues to deteriorate because Americans overwhelmingly do not see him as being up to serving 4 more years. Greenberg has been a leading Democrat pollster for decades. His work includes advising Bill Clinton's 2 winning presidential campaigns. He declined to comment when contacted Monday evening. Several Democrat members of Congress have also continued to lobby privately, sources say, urging top Biden advisors to consider the damage to Biden's legacy if the president not only loses the White House, but Republicans hold the House and capture the Senate majority. One Democrat lawmaker told CNN some top Biden aides get the depth of this, but believe it can be turned around, and in any event describe the president as adamant in the belief that he can win. That's their biggest problem. Their biggest problem is Biden, who doesn't seem to believe any of the stuff that he's either they're pumping him sunshine or he is complete denial, it seems to me. And now, look, I don't want you to get mad at me. In a perfect world, I think we want to go against Joe Biden. But I want you to know what's going on behind the scenes. And we're listening to the Democrats talk among themselves. And I have never been one who believed that the Democrats would allow Joe Biden to go forward as the nominee if they really feel that he is destined to lose for one or a number of reasons. So, I mean, I just don't think that they're going to stand by ultimately and do nothing. The lawmakers' view was that it was counterproductive to make additional public calls because of the imperative of a unified party response to this week's Republican convention and because of the president's repeated public statements about staying in the race. The more you call for him to do it, the more adamant he says, I'm going to stick around. But, I mean, that AP poll completely goes against everything that he tries to put forward. The Democrats want me to stay in. Well, I don't know. Look at that AP poll. I wouldn't say that that was true. There is apparently going to be a roll call vote, a virtual roll call vote now on August 1st. And this was initially the idea here was, well, let's rush this and do the best we can. So that's not that far down the path. What we're here, the 30 days have September. I think there's 31 days in July. I think 31 days in July. So this is the 17th. So we're talking about August 1st not being that far away. The reason that this initially was talked about was to meet an Ohio deadline. But now the folks in Ohio say they have changed that and that there is no need for Joe Biden to rush that nomination. However, Joe Biden probably wants to rush that nomination rather than wait an additional period of time to get into that convention. Because the longer it goes, the worse it gets for Biden. He would like to have that virtual roll call, which would secure the nomination for him. And now there's a big push to say, well, let's not do that. Proceeding with the virtual roll call in the absence of valid legal rationale will rightly be perceived as purely a political maneuver, which we believe would be counterproductive and undermine party unity and cohesion, according to a letter that is floating around among Democrats. That's what they're saying. The members also note that Biden has said to members of Congress in recent days that if a Democrat wants to challenge his nomination, they can do so at the convention, but not if they've done the virtual roll call in advance on August 1. They should do the right thing, says Representative Jared Huffman of California, and pull down this dumb idea instead of accelerating the nomination by a full month. The letter marks a resurfacing of unrest within the Democrat Party after public scrutiny over Biden at the top of the ticket was on brief pause after the assassination attempt on Saturday. Ahead of the shooting, 22 Democrats had come out publicly to call for Biden to withdraw. So I think when you see people like Schiff come out and say we're going to need to go ahead, we need to find somebody else, I think that they are realizing, tick tock, if we don't push him out by August 1st, we may not be able to push him out. 4 new names being floated as replacements for Biden. Here they are. Governor Wes Moore, Democrat of Maryland, first-term governor, rising star, African-American, very articulate, really sharp. From their perspective, he made sort of a name for himself during the bridge accident in Baltimore. We saw him, and he handles himself well on the national stage. Governor Josh Shapiro, Democrat of Pennsylvania. Here's one. Senator Mark Kelly, Democrat of Arizona, former astronaut, married to Gabby Giffords. Governor Andy Beshear, Democrat of Kentucky's name keeps popping up now and then. There's 4 names being talked about as a possible replacement for Biden. By the way, if Biden steps aside, it seems pretty clear to me that the nominee would be Kamala Harris. It seems to me at this point. 21 past the hour now. Hey, the folks at DT McCall want you to know that they've been around for more than 100 years. And I think that, when you have somebody who's been around more than 100 years, it's because they have had a reputation of treating people right. If you don't treat people right, you don't last that long. It's simply that's just a fact of doing business. They have 5 locations. One is probably near you. And so, if you need furniture, if you need appliances, you need a mower, whatever it is that you need to make your house a home, you will probably find it at DT McCall's. You need electronics. They got big screen TVs, everything. I mean, you just need to go to one of their locations and take a look around. Some of these places are downright cavernous. One of the other things that I like about DT McCall's is that it's a Tennessee company that, whenever possible, does business with other Tennessee companies. So if you're going to spend your money, why not spend it and keep your dollars here in Tennessee and give it to a Tennessee company that does business with other Tennessee companies? That's what's not to love about that. DT McCall's 5 convenient locations. You can find out where they are by going to their website, dtmccalls.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
The world will get to know J.D. Vance a lot better tonight, and we'll have the latest money news from Wall Street. Those stories at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 26 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy. And as long as we're talking about politics, and that's really what everything that's going on right now. Let me just go through some of the numbers that have been on. Has there been any change? Now, probably if there's been some change since the events of Saturday, it will not have shown up yet. But I don't see anything that suggests that things have changed in a dramatic way. The general election numbers, the Harris poll came out with Trump up by 2 in a two-way matchup and up by 4 in a five-way matchup. If you substitute the name Harris In other words, Vice President Harris for Joe Biden against Trump. Trump wins by 4 in the two-way and by 2 in the five-way. So, there's those numbers again from the Harris poll. The Economist has, in a two-way matchup, they have Trump leading by 2 in the general election number, and the five-way, which includes, not only Biden, but then RFK Jr., West and Stein, Trump would lead by 5 points. So, again, somewhere around 3 points, if you average all of this out, Trump continues to lead in the nationwide general election polls. But as you know, I'm a believer in the battlegrounds. It's all decided in the battlegrounds. I mean, we know that the blue states are going to vote blue, and we know that red states are going to vote red. But what about these purplish states where how is Donald Trump doing in those states? Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Arizona. Trump leads by, on average, this is average, Real Clear Politics, battleground states average, by 5.7. He's got, it looks good in Arizona. Nevada, he's up by 5. Wisconsin, Trump is up by 3, on average. North Carolina, Trump up by 5.4. Pennsylvania, Trump up by 4.5. Georgia, Trump up by 3.9, basically 4 points. Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia, which has become a battleground state, it's dead even, and that's hard to believe. Governor Youngkin has been speaking very positively about the possibilities there in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So the ground, I mean, if you're a Democrat, you look at these numbers, they're devastating. I mean, if he picks up Arizona, Nevada, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, it's over. And each of those states, on average, that's averaging all of the battleground polls that are available, you have Trump leading by more than 4 points in all of those states. Now, in some of those polls, that's still within the margin of error, but that's been pretty consistent. If the polls are correct, the battleground states are looking very positive, which is why you see the Democrats, crying and moaning and groaning because they're getting memos from their pollsters on a daily basis that suggest that it's looking pretty grim. Now, whether that's making its way to Joe Biden or not is not clear at all, because I think that they keep stuff from him. I really do. And some of the statements that he makes suggest that he's not aware of the things that are available to us. I mean, and doesn't want to hear them, as they say in politics sometimes. Denial. It's not just a river in Egypt. 30 minutes now. Time for the news. 30 minutes past the hour.
It's 4:30. I'm John Michael with your top stories. It's partly sunny and 90 degrees on Music Row. Your full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. 2 days after choosing J.D. Vance as his running mate, former President Donald Trump has put the junior senator from Ohio on the campaign trail. Vance will get his formal introduction to the RNC this evening, but attendees at a GOP fundraiser here in Milwaukee got a sneak peek into his remarks. Vance called on voters to re-elect Trump to the White House.
It is time to go back to the leadership of Donald Trump. It is time to get rid of the corrupt Biden-Harris regime that has broken this country, that has ruined its reputation in the world, and most importantly, has made a basic middle-class life less affordable for our citizens.
It is Vance tonight and then Donald Trump himself tomorrow night taking center stage as the convention comes to a close. For today's Money News, here's Daria Albinger.
From ABC News Wall Street now, it was a midweek tale of two markets. The Dow soared 244 points to close above 41,000 for the first time ever, while the NASDAQ pulled back sharply, falling 512 points for its worst day in over a year. And the S&P gave up 79 for the session. The record-breaking rally on Wall Street ran into a wall as worries about potentially worsening trade tensions in China hit chipmaker stocks. ASML fell 12.7%, even after reporting better than expected sales. Tokyo Electron fell 7.5%, and NVIDIA gave up 6.1%. We didn't shop as much as May as we have in recent months. The Commerce Department says retail sales were unchanged in June. The Mirage is about to vanish from the Strip. The tropical island-themed hotel and casino which sparked a resort building boom in Las Vegas, is closing. New owners Hard Rock International will build a guitar-shaped hotel with 600 rooms.
The Dow led the way again today, closing up 243 points. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm John Michael, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Let me tell you about the folks over at the Wellness Institute of Nashville, Dr. Kevin Mitchell, Dr. Ashley over there, great folks. And they want you to know that there are no pills or spinal creams that can magically open up your spinal disc and take pressure off your nerves. If your back hurts, it's pressure on your nerves. And you have two choices, surgery or non-invasive spinal decompression. Well, I chose non-surgical spinal decompression at the Wellness Institute of Nashville, and it has helped me. I have two locations, one in my neck and one in my lower back, and it has helped in both situations a great deal. Their state-of-the-art facilities have the latest and high-tech equipment, and they offer the latest non-surgical procedures. Getting better is important, so Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley are offering half off spinal decompression treatments and half off the KT knee machine. And that's really sort of like the spinal decompression for your knee. Really does work. Now, listen, what you get if you're a new patient, come in, you get an exam, a consultation, your first treatment, and it will only cost you $23. $23 to start, then half off the treatments going forward. What's not to love about that? I'm Brian Wilson, and I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. So call them today, 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It is 38 minutes past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk. Brian Wilson back in the chair. It's been a long time since we've had a chance to talk to Pete Hegseth. Our schedules have just not been able to sync up, and he's there in Milwaukee. I'm going to ask him about the convention, but I know he's got a lot to say about the events of Saturday. Pete Hegseth joins us now on the phone. Pete, first of all, it's been a while. Good to have you back on the program. So your thoughts about Saturday. I saw you earlier with that nice Martha McCallum talking about some of the things that concern you, and you look at this, I no doubt, as like somebody who, as you did, served in the military, and it's shocking, isn't it, that this was left so wide open?
Oh, no doubt. And first of all, it changes everything. I mean, this is the kind of thing that entire congressional committees and investigations of entire federal departments are waged over. I mean, the left is going to try to sort of make it seem like, it was just a failed shooting that was a mistake, and let's just move on. No, there was a massive breach in protocol and neglect that led to the near death of the leading political opponent and former president of the United States, who all of our government institutions have worked against as well. So forgive me for my skepticism of how well they follow through here. But it was, gross negligence at every level, from the conduct of how they set it up. And I walked through that with Martha McCallum. Like anyone who understands sectors and lines of sight, and certainly the Secret Service understands that, would know that the area they left open. And then just the intel that they had and the information they had, and he was a suspect, and they took pictures of him, and they knew he was there. I mean, it's just all bad. Whether all of it bad in a negligent sense, and then in the actions on, we see that they're incapable in the moment of basic execution, and then afterwards, here's an equally troubling part of it. I don't think we're going to get transparency. I don't think we're going to get a real investigation. And that's just going to breed skepticism and theories and more mistrust, and of course, no accountability. No one ever resigns or is fired in this administration. Damn shame.
We just heard from Congressman Mark Green, who had just gotten off one of these conferences where they were supposed to getting an update on where the investigation stood, and one sensed from him that there was not a great deal of information that was being offered up. That you could probably go out there and read several good, in reporting the things that are out there on the internet right now, and learn more than he could have learned during that briefing. So you're right. We've got to have transparency, and it doesn't look like they're going to offer it. I have to ask you that incredible comment by the director of the Secret Service, that, we didn't want to put anybody on that building because it was a slope roof. Isn't that the most insane thing you've ever heard?
It's a lie. She's a fool. She's only in CYA mode. I've had a bunch of people reach out to me, I'm sure you have too, saying the slope of that roof is the same as the ADA mandated ramps for wheelchairs. Like, people walk on that stuff all the time. It's an excuse. It was made up in some talking point session. I don't know how they think they can get away with it. The slope or the other snipers were on was far more distinct. It's a sham. Either they didn't have the people, they didn't care, something was negligent, something was missed, and it's on the Secret Service. It's always on the commander, Brian. It's always, and that's what drives me nuts, is the commander never takes responsibility. They never have any shame. It's all gone. And so people died. Someone died. People were critically wounded. We almost lost a president, and no one's held accountable. That's how institutions die.
I mean, when you look, there's a computer animation that's out there. Somebody has done an analysis and have taken the video and then done some kind of computer analysis of how close he came by turning his head at just the right moment. If he had not turned his head, we would have a dead Donald Trump. I mean, it's just that clear. We came so incredibly close to losing this guy.
It's almost impossible to imagine. It's one, there's these scenarios where you play things forward and you can't conceive of what it looks like. This is one of them. If it was a successful assassination, I mean, we're not here in Milwaukee. There is no convention. There is civil unrest. There is, at best, Just where does our country head after that? How do we rebuild our institute? It's just almost impossible. So you contrast that with what we saw on Monday night, which was love and beauty and unity of the Republican Party. God has blessed us with a second chance, and I certainly believe God had his hand on Donald Trump's shoulder that day. It's divine intervention. It's providence.
Do you pick up that? I mean, I was watching him very closely when he entered the arena the first time the other night, and it seemed to me that he was. You don't normally get from Donald Trump a lot of emotion. I mean, he could get excited and he could be a powerful speaker, but I mean, you don't really see much emotion on him, and he seemed to be really a sort of a changed man. And I can only imagine, having gone through that and knowing how close you came, how it would change your life. Apparently, we hear he's torn up his speech. He's going to write something different. What do you think is going to come from the president when he speaks? What do you sense?
You know, I've had brushes with death, but those were in a context where I was in the business of death, of fighting and in war. And so you've already psychologically sort of baked it in, and it's still difficult enough to deal with, and it changes you inalterably in ways you can't even conceive, sometimes in the moment, sometimes a week after, sometimes months after. I do think this had an impact on him and his family. How could it not? You see it in his face. I saw it too. It was evident in the arena, and you see the language he used about God. You see it'll be very interesting to see what he says on Thursday. And I think he's got a huge runway. Forget about the political advantages of it. What a massive opportunity to rise above it and make the case for the country, which is always what he said he wants to do, make America great again. This isn't about Republicans. It's about everybody. And these next two nights with J.D. Vance and Trump, I think will tell us a lot about what the next 4 months are going to look like.
Well, what do you think about the choice of J.D. Vance, the freshman senator from the state of Ohio?
I like it a lot. I advocated for it for most of the time, considering the alternatives that were out there. I didn't want an establishment pick. I think the fact that J.D. Vance is a MAGA guy means replacing Trump in whatever capacity doesn't look all that good because you're getting someone just like him. What surprised me, I guess, a little bit, Brian, is that Trump put his finger on the generational scale. And you could say, hey, he made a generational commitment, and that's good. But there are a lot of people chomping to be the standard bearer of MAGA, and J.D. Vance now has the inside track. And I think what a lot of people have taken away from it, and I talk to people, they don't know much about J.D. Vance, and I don't know more than most either. They say, hey, if Trump trusts him, I trust him. And I think his speech tonight really will be an introduction. I mean, he wrote a huge book that was culture altering, but still in the political course, a lot of people don't know who he is. So he gets a great chance to introduce him tonight. I think he's a great pick. People that know him well think extremely highly of him, and he's aligned with Donald Trump, which is what you want from a VP.
And give me some sense of how chaotic it is at the convention, given all the protests that are going on and how tight the security must be. If it was going to be tight to begin with, I can only imagine it's been ramped up about 6 or 7 or 8 points.
It has. It took me an hour and 15 minutes to get back to my hotel room, Brian. It should have taken 15 minutes. Just about 45 minutes, just a bit ago. So but that's kind of, everybody kind of gets it. We understand. As far as chaos, there's none. The protests, I don't know where they are. I haven't seen any protesters, and I've been all around the site. I mean, they're well away. I know they exist, but they're even camped down. What are you going to do? Have some violent clashes after what happened to Donald Trump? I mean, that's sort of fizzled. And inside the arena and inside the hall, it is love. This is the most unified Republican Party I've ever seen, having been to a number of conventions. And even those that have seen beyond that, they're comparing it to 84 and just saying, hey, there's this feeling that we have a chance to really turn this country around even more, and Trump has consolidated it. And the 2016 convention was conflicted. Remember, Cruz didn't endorse Trump, and then 2020 was virtual. So this is really the first chance Trump has been able to say, hey, sit atop the Republican Party and have a giant celebration. And with what happened on Saturday, it's just been injected with a deeper emotion.
Yeah, I think you're right. And you look at the Republican side of the equation, there is unity. They all seem to be coming together. The wind, if you look at all of the numbers, and I know how you feel about numbers, but the numbers continue to look good for Donald Trump. So everything is at Donald Trump's back right now. The wind is at his back. And you compare and contrast that with the other side of the equation, where it's absolute disarray on the Democratic side.
disarray is almost is accurate. I would say what is it? I mean, you got Adam Schiff. He only got a pause because of what happened to Trump. It's rumbling under the surface as much as ever. Wait for the convention. They're going to wait for the convention to end, and then these next couple of weeks are make or break. I mean, everybody wants to put a timeline on it. I don't think we can. But if this succeeds with as strong as it's been looking, I don't know how they stay with Joe, but I don't see Joe leaving either. So good luck to them.
Yeah, I mean,
when they don't figure it out.
When you hear Joe Biden talk, he keeps talking about, well, Democrats want me to stay in, but clearly there's an AP poll out there that says 65% of Democrats, not just Americans, Democrats want him to step aside and let somebody else become the nominee. But that doesn't seem to be resonating. It doesn't seem to be getting through to him how people feel in the wake of his flop performance at the debate.
He's wrapped in bubble wrap, rhetorical bubble wrap. Like his world is probably about as highly curated as the Truman Show. Like what gets in front of Joe has to only reinforce his worldview at this point.
All right. So tonight we hear from J.D. Vance, and I heard him speak a little earlier. It seems like he wants to just make a powerful case for Donald Trump. And I guess the theme of tonight is to make America strong again on the world stage, I guess is the thought.
Yes, tonight is, peace and strength, the military foreign policy angle, which Trump is quite proud of the record he built, and rightfully so, in contrasting with the chaos in the world of Joe Biden. And that'll all be important. And I had some great speakers. David Bellavia, the Medal of Honor recipient, is speaking tonight. He's fantastic. A lot of Don Jr. is, but it's all about J.D. Vance and his introduction tonight.
All right. Well, listen, thank you so much for checking in. Pete Hegseth from the Fox and Friends Weekend Edition. Also, when he's not doing that, he's a resident right here in Middle Tennessee. We always appreciate you joining us.
We'll talk to you next Wednesday. Thanks, Brian.
All right. It's 50 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock. Grace Point Healthcare. We talk about all the time about how they are affordable, how the medicine there and the way they treat you is comprehensive, and probably just as important as all of that, it's convenient. I mean, maybe you'll get in today or tomorrow, at the very least, but they'll get you in. How many times have you called up and said, hey, doc, I need to get in? And they say, well, we'll get you in a couple of weeks. Sometimes you don't have 2 weeks. So affordable, comprehensive, and convenient. If you're thinking about getting kids ready for school and doing the sports physicals, Grace Points provides complete physicals for kids of all ages. If you're out there and you're thinking about an international vacation or maybe making a mission trip this summer, as some people have done, Grace Point offers complete travel immunizations and is CDC certified for yellow fever and all other international immunization protocols. And again, it's because they will see you the same day or the next day. You won't have to wait for days or weeks to see a doctor. Now, what else could you ask for? They're located on Main Street in Franklin, delivering medicine the old-fashioned way. Here's the number to set up your appointment, 615-599-6868. Again, 615-599-6868.